Thank you. Yemen is, I think, the perfect case of turning tragedy into a victory not only for Yemen or the Yemeni people, but for all mankind. And I will explain why. For 3.5 years, as our friends have discussed, the Saudi war on Yemen, backed by Britain, the United States, and France, and other countries, has brought with it many tragedies, but also many ironies. It showed that the apparently weak do not necessarily have to lose in the face of the mighty. Yemenis, while admittedly being the poorest people in the region, have a deep sense of historical identity and a culture that goes back thousands of years into history. They are a proud people with a republican sense of freedom and a rough landscape they have that is very advantageous in defensive warfare. All these factors made them capable of resisting the Saudi coalition, backed by some of the most powerful military forces on the planet for more than 3 years. But that was at a very, very high price, as we have seen. Another irony is that right in the middle of the worst war and humanitarian crisis, some Yemenis, and for the duration of the war, have been studying economics as defined by Lyndon LaRouche and the Schiller Institute in order to figure out how to build a modern economy and avoid the disasters of the past. They also have been studying the new Silk Road and want Yemen to join the Belt and Road Initiative and the BRICS. As I said in my opening remarks earlier, to survive tragedy, you have to look towards the stars, i.e. at the future, and derive inspiration and courage from them to survive the current fight and also pave the way to solving the crisis. Earlier this month, on June 6th, a seminar was held in Sana'a, the capital of Yemen, right under the ongoing escalation of the war. Can I have the first image? It was held at the headquarters of the Yemeni General Investment Authority, where the Sana'a Declaration was issued. I have to explain for you just, the man standing to the left is Fouad al-Ghaffari. He is now the head of the preparatory committee of the new Silk Road Party in Yemen, and he also is organizing young people to form what he calls a BRICS youth government. And he has been leading the initiative in Yemen to introduce LaRouche's economics, and at least one school in Yemen now are preparing to teach LaRouche economics in their schools. Because this is really a act of courage and defiance in the face of the most horrible war being launched on their country, because they say, we are not give up in the face of this. We will develop our intellectual powers to defeat the enemy, even, mentally. So, because we have a future to fight for. We are not fighting just to survive. We are fighting to have a future. So in that seminar, where the declaration, Sana'a Declaration, adopted an 80-page Schiller Institute report. It's called Operation Felix, Yemen's Reconstruction and Connection to the New Silk Road. I am the main author of the report. The GIA Deputy Director, who was in the picture sitting to the right, Engineer Khaled Sharafuddin, opened the seminar by thanking Helga LaRouche, Chairman of the Schiller Institute, for her and her organization's relentless support to the Yemeni people. He expressed his full support to the proposals made in the report and stressed that the Yemeni General Investment Agency will work on 2 tracks with the government in Sana'a. One is to translate this report into an action plan for the government, and the other track is to thoroughly study all the infrastructure and financial proposals made in the report in order to launch the reconstruction process as soon as the war of aggression is stopped. So anyway, we go directly to the how to reverse this policy. I could say, as our friend said, that the Republic of Yemen enjoys a unique geographical position at the intersection point of the land-based economic belt of the new Silk Road and the maritime Silk Road of the 21st century, the red and the yellow. thus becoming a key component of this giant development project and benefiting from it at the same time. Yemen has also abundant natural resources and a diverse climate that makes it suitable for integrated agro-industrial development. What is lacking in Yemen, though, like in many parts of Africa, is what Lyndon LaRouche calls the economic platform, the platform of basic infrastructure to lift all these resources to higher levels of productivity and to bring into being their potential. The key component in the development plan proposed in this report is the construction of the Yemeni Development Corridor, or corridors, modeled on LaRouche's concept of the development corridor. Now, when you look at our maps of the Silk Road or the World Land Bridge, you see all these lines crossing the continents. These are not just a railway or a camel caravan carrying goods from the east to the west. These are, the concept is to build what we call, what LaRouche calls the development corridor, which is 100 to 150 kilometer wide. This is a cross-section of it, which includes railways, roads, water canals, oil and gas pipelines, power lines, nuclear-powered new cities and agro-industrial centers. So this should be this is the concept that will stretch from the east to the west, opening new areas with potential development, but they need these tools to be able to raise the potential which exists in their countries. The report conceptualizes the Yemeni development corridors with the main spine extending from Sada to Aden. This is the main, we call it the spine or the backbone. And then you have the limbs going to the port cities, but also to the plateau, which is has a great potential for development, but also along the coast, which will benefit from the maritime Silk Road. And then the third concentration is that Yemen should be connected to the Belt and Road, Initiative. It will be connected to the Belt and Road, to the land part of the Belt and Road through projects connecting to Oman and across the Hormuz Strait to Iran and further to Central Asia, but also to Russia. And also there is a proposal for a bridge or a tunnel across the Bab el-Mandeb Strait to connect to Djibouti, Ethiopia, and the rest of Africa. Now, in the future, of course, if there will be peace, this does not exclude the fact that Yemen is connected to the rest of West Asia with Saudi Arabia, with the Gulf countries, and so on and so forth to Europe. But at the moment, the perspective for doing that immediately is not there. But it's very important that in the future that the Yemenis and the Saudis are reconciled. Now, many tribes on the border between Saudi Arabia and Yemen, I mean, their nationality is not really identified. They are Saudis or Yemenis. Nobody knows if they are Saudis or Yemenis. Therefore, the borders of Yemen with Saudi Arabia have not been really demarcated. So the people in Saudi Arabia and Yemen, they share, you know, even in a tribal sense, they share a common destiny. In conclusion, I would just like to say that in the June 6th seminar in Sana'a, which I described earlier, I propose that the government there adopts this plan as a key component in any peace and reconciliation talks between the different Yemeni belligerent parties, and that this would be agreed upon before, that this would be the mission of the future Yemeni government, that everybody agrees that this is what we want to do when we have peace. Not to have peace, as I say in the report, we don't want to reconstruct Yemen to what it was before the war. Because before the war, as we remember, Yemen was the poorest country in the region. So it's not our intention to bring Yemen back to what it was. We want to transform Yemen into the future. In the same time, thank you. In the same time, it's a means of motivating the international community to consider the absurdity of the continuation of this war, and the fact that the people controlling the government in Sana'a are not mere militias with power ambitions, but are statesmen with visions and knowledge. The responsibility to stop this genocidal war is upon every individual and every government in the world today. The vision for launching a genuine reconstruction and development plan in Yemen is in harmony with the new paradigm of cooperation in the world as expressed in this conference so far. Thank you very much.